Good morning, everyone. So I'm Andrew Hill, if you're new here or visiting. I'm the preacher guy. And as we get started this morning, question. Where is the quietest place you've ever been to? Stop for a moment and think about the most quiet space you've ever experienced. Some say it's the Mojave Desert, in the middle of it, somewhere where the winds aren't blowing, where the grass isn't rustling. Maybe it's the Salt Flats, where there's nothing for miles, you can't hear anything, you can't see anything, and it's just very, very quiet. Some have said it might be Antarctica, when the wind stops blowing and the snow's not falling, and you're standing perfectly still in the middle of the South Pole maybe, where there's nothing around. As we get started this morning, this is Be Still and. That is the title. It seems to not end. It seems to be an awkward pausing point, right? It doesn't seem to be right. It asks for more. And this is a sermon I'm just, one, there's not a series. I haven't planned for another one to follow this. This is just one to stop for a moment and take a minute to rest and to think about God. And it's in our theme for the whole year of love, the goal being that we might love God and love others and recognize that we need to love ourselves to love God and love others well. So let's pray as we get started. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you that we can gather. We thank you that all are present, that are present this morning here in this place and online. We thank you for those who will watch later. God, we ask that you would open our hearts to you, open our minds, free ourselves from ourselves and all the things around us. Let us hear your word. Let us think clearly about what you have for us. Let us feel what you call us to feel. God, help us to be the people you desire. More than anything, help us to be who you want. May I speak your words. May we hear well. It's in Jesus we pray. Amen. So Psalm 46, verse 1 through 11. Great passage, great psalm, wonderful ideas presented. As we get there, though, I want to stop for 1 second and tell you the quietest place we know of on this earth is not made by nature. It's a place that Microsoft built. It's a lab, and it measures at negative 20 point something decibels. What does that mean? It means that when you go in there, you hear nothing. If you're still, your body starts to adjust. And you start to, well, it's not that you hear nothing, it's that there's no echo. It's an anechoic chamber, which means we want no echo. So the walls are all padded. There is no floor exactly because it's underneath you by 10 feet maybe, and it's padded. The ceiling is padded. And these pads are these massive wedges that are maybe a foot deep. And the issue being that all the sound is absorbed into them. And when they close the doors and foam up the rest of the things that they have in there, it registers a negative decibel, which means there will be no echo of any kind. Right now, as I speak, and you're in this room, you can hear an echo a little bit, right? Do you know babies, when they're born, they typically hear not just an echo, but they hear twice everything. Or so we believe. Because, who can ask the baby, hey, how's that sound for you? But there is the thought that a part of their adjusting to the world is being able for their brain to synthesize all the sound they hear into one sound. Because, we have two ears and they hear separately, And if you clog one up and you've got an infection, can't hear anything, you still hear out of the other, right? So here, babies are adjusting to the world around them and trying to make sense of it. Well, what happens in this anoechic chamber is that actually you start to hear everything that's you, because there's no other sound in the room and you become the sound. And so your heart beating, many people hear that. But some people hear the heartbeats in their own head and the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh of the blood going through their body. And for some people, it's very unsettling, because when they turn the lights off, if you're not sitting down, you will likely fall over, because you have no frame of reference anymore. Because typically, we can hear around us how large the room is. You can feel the presence. And there's actually even blind people and sighted people who have learned to see through their hearing. And so they do a little thing called echolocation, just like bats. And so they'll make little clicks. And they'll hear it come back to them, and they'll go, oh, I know how far this is. And it's not just distances, but they can actually see, not like bricks exactly, but they can see structures, and they can see around them, and they can walk and ride bikes as they do that. And isn't that crazy? So I say all that to say, sometimes when we get really still and really quiet, and we really pay attention, we hear and see things we never knew were possible. But the difficulty in today's world is this: who wants that quiet? Most every one of you that I've visited will tell me, oh, I usually just have the TV on for sound when nobody else is around. I might not even watch it, but I just need some noise in the background. I need to know I'm not the only one in the world. So as you think about this, let's read Psalm 46, 1 through 11 again. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. We turn to God when things don't make sense. We turn to God as followers of Him when the world seems to be upsetting and difficult, when life falls apart. Especially, people will turn to God and say, come on, what's going on? I don't understand. Help me make sense of this. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Well, really? Do we really not fear when bad things happen? I just preached a sermon series on this a while back, just a week ago. It ended. Well, 2 weeks ago at this point. But it was the idea that we actually do have fear. But we don't let that fear control us. And so when it says we will not fear, it means we will not be shocked into immobility. We will not fear so much that we are destroyed because of our fear. Highway 1 dropped off into the ocean, and it does it kind of regularly, right? You drive up and down the coast here, and you notice that the waves keep coming. They keep crashing, and they take out the hillsides. And in fact, everywhere you've ever lived, there is erosion happening, right? It's not just at the edge of the sea, but on tops of the mountains when the rains and the snows come and then they melt and they they cascade down the hillside. It takes the silt and the dirt and the sometimes big boulders, and it moves them down, and they fall, right? And then there's earthquakes, not to mention the other stuff, where the roads it used to be a straight road, and then it got shifted, and they had to repaint the lines and sometimes repave it and, fill in the gaps where things used to be. And in Japan, they've had the road split like that. And so, it's interesting to think about all the ways that this world is changing, and that sometimes cause us to have some sense of fear or anxiety or worry or concern. And when we think about our children and what will come and the issues that they face, and if you're if you're much older, you've seen life really change. Some of you have told me of stories where you grew up without a car. You guys still had horses and buggies and stuff, and you lived out in the middle of nowhere, and you didn't have proper plumbing, you might say. So, I mean, that stuff isn't very far away. And at the same time, today, we're now at the stage where, I don't know if you know what quantum computing is, but it's insanely fast. It's faster than anything we have, and it will solve all the problems of the world. But it won't. What it will do is in a heartbeat render math that used to take years. It will just be boom and done. And it will destroy the systems that we have in place today for security. Oh my, what are we going to do? Right? For some, that causes great anxiety. It's much like this. The world is falling apart around us. What are we going to do? Though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging earthquakes, tsunamis, terrible things, huge waves, storms that are coming because of global warming and the tilt and wobble of the moon every 18 years. They're supposed to come in a couple years and supposed to be worse than they've ever been. And what are we going to do? What are we going to do? There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. Well, that's just a calming feeling, right? That just brings you into, oh, this is God's place, and this river is a peaceful river. It's a lazy river, maybe. It doesn't have foaming rapids and roaring craziness like the previous, right? It's not the wide open ocean that if you're in the middle of it, you feel really lost possibly because you don't have any orientation whatsoever. But it's a river. And it makes us glad, and it makes the city of God glad. God is within her. She will not fall. There's no difficulty for God here. God will help her at break of day. You know, there's 2 times when all the Christians come out of the woodwork. The sunrise if they're awake, and at the sunset. They take pictures and they're reminded, God made this. And that's kind of what this calls me to. That feeling of, oh, it's so beautiful. We don't always get to see it. You have to have just the right conditions, and then suddenly it opens up your eyes and you go, this is beautiful. But you know, you can see that every day. Not just in sunsets, but in the people around you. In the little ants that move along the ground. You can find God's creation beautiful in a multitude of ways. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. There's wars, rumors of wars, horrible things happening every day. We don't have a clue how terrible this world is or how wonderful it is. We don't get to see everything. But at the same, that verse just said that God lifts his voice and this is the result, that calamity strikes. So if God gets angry, watch out. Right? And God has more power than anything we've seen. There's some massive bomb that's 100 times more powerful than any bomb we've ever seen. And they're building another one that's like 1,000 times more than that. I'm like, at what point do we not need another bomb that's that big? I mean, you're going to blow up half the earth? I mean, what is this? This is craziness, right? I mean, how much firepower do we need? Now, I could see if we're trying to develop something to keep off the asteroids and the crazy megaton, huge things that are going to come in and destroy the world as we know it, right? But don't worry. The near hit of those is usually millions of miles away, but they spin it and sell it like it's right on our doorstep, and here it comes, and it's going to destroy the atmosphere, and you know, the dinosaurs, that's us, we're gone. So, let's find some peace, right? Let's find some rest from the anxiety that's around us. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. And that's really the whole idea, is that we turn to God. Because no matter what the nastiest, horriblest thing that could happen to us is, well, it results in our victory. If we remain faithful until death, we go home to be with God, and we're good, right? I mean, yeah, there could be some horrible things that lead up to that, but okay. They're temporary. They're not going to be that long. They're not going to take forever. In the real sense of that word, they're really short. I mean, our whole life, if you're really lucky, the oldest person we know of alive today is something like 120, I think, or something like that, right? That's really short compared to how long the earth's been around. That's really short compared to eternity. That's a blink, a breath. Less than that. It's nothing. And so even a life filled with suffering and difficulty is nothing when you think about who God is and what God will do in the end and what life will be like with him eternally, right? And that's the hope of this verse, is that the Lord Almighty is with us. He's with us here and now. We don't have to wait for eternity to come for us to find peace. We can find it today. Even in the midst of all the crazy and chaos, we can go, oh, God is with me. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. I don't really want to see all the difficulties God's brought about. I don't know about you, but that's really what the verse is saying. Desolations are the negative impacts. But those are God's judgment. They're not without reason, right? I mean, we're told when God does stuff, there's a reason. But on the other hand, there are times when nature is nature and it just happens, right? Horrible things happen and we can't explain them. We don't know why. We'd like to say everything happens for a reason. And sometimes that reason is because this world is sinful and is fallen. And, we ate some fruit in a garden a long time ago. And that's really the biggest, best reason we can give. But we want a reason. And we convince ourselves there is a greater purpose behind every single thing that happens. And therefore, it's all okay. And I would say this psalmist does that as well. I would say no matter the difficulty, the greater good of it all is that God is with us. We're struggling through this life trying to make sense of everything, and we do our best to tell our stories in a way that is coherent and meaningful. And at the same time, the most meaningful thing about the whole of my life is that God is with me. Whatever God has done, okay, that's what's happened, right? He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. And basically, God can end any war he chooses to end. He can destroy any fight. He can take away any difficulty. But he doesn't always choose that. And that causes us consternation because we often pray for these things, don't we? I don't know about you, but for most of my life, in fact, for the whole of the history of the United States of America, since this is the country most of us live in, right? We've been at war in one way or another. We've been in some skirmish across the land. Whether it's here or abroad, there's been, I think, only like 5 years maybe where we've actually not been in some conflict. And that's just our country. What about all the other countries? God cares for every country, every person, everything that this earth has. God cares. So you think about that. We've been in some conflict for a very long time, and God says he can end them. And I say, well, what about us? Aren't we called to help God along in this process? Aren't we called to be a loving, generous people who recognize who God is and his power and do our best to live in that? To live in that in a different way? Verse 10, he says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And this is the verse that's on coffee cups. And I mean, I could give you product after product. You can buy wall things where, you know, you put them on like a sticker, and it's a big sticker that goes on your wall. Be still and know that I am God. Okay, but this verse is in the middle of a judgmental feeling. I mean, am I wrong? God can do anything, and he can wipe out the warriors and crush all of their weapons. And at the same, I will be exalted. I will be praised. I will be praised. But what do we personally do with all of that? Well, the NET, or the New English Translation, I love this version. It says it quite literally, stop your striving and recognize that I am God. See, it's not just be still. It's not find peace and quiet. It's quit striving. Quit fighting. Quit pushing. And recognize. Not just know up here, but like really recognize, like become aware that God is God. And that he's really in charge of whatever's going on. So stop striving. Quit fighting for position, power, and security. I don't know if you notice this, but the whole psalm is talking about you want safety. You fight battles, and you take on others, and you try to calm the seas, and you try to shore up the hillsides. You want all the things to go away that cause you any anxiety. And I'm sorry if you're having more anxiety as I preached this morning. That was not my intent. My intent is to help us to see that we do this every day. We struggle every day. I don't know about you, but many times in our conversations, it's not I'm present with you and I'm hearing you. It's I'm trying to match you, to show you that I know what's right, that I'm smarter, that I have the answers, that my way's the right way. I mean, haven't you noticed that? Especially on TV, which, let's be honest, if you watch much of it, you're influenced by it, and you see the people yelling back and forth at each other continuously, and you call that fun, exciting, and it's really just nonsensical fighting. Because we're trying to have the upper hand continually. How many people do you know that when they come into your presence, they bring you a breath and you feel relaxed? And instead of, oh, I've got to do something, I've got to be something, I've got to prove something, you can just go, you know what? This is good. I'm just here. You're here. Oh, this is wonderful. I don't know. I have this feeling that we as Christians are called in some sense to be that way. Because we've stopped striving. We've stopped fighting. And we've especially quit fighting God. At some point in your Christian walk, we should get to the place where we say, you know what, God? I know you win. I know the whole of the Bible, Revelation especially, says God wins. We know the outcome. So you know what, God? I'm going to quit trying to fight constantly with everybody and everywhere, and I'm going to breathe in and breathe out, and I'm going to find peace. I'm going to quit trying to impose myself upon others, demand what they should do because I know better. I'm going to quit trying to allow others to tell me what to do and demand that they tell me what to do because I can't decide for myself. Instead, I'm going to be present with people. And God, I'm going to be present with you. I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to relax. That doesn't mean I become a blob and do nothing, but it means that I lower the tension in my world. And I quit focusing on all the things that cause so much difficulty. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. And it repeats that verse again, like it did in verse 7. Here it is in verse 11. And it's reminding us to relax. to let God, to quit fighting over everything, to pray, to meditate on him, to know ourselves, to kind of de-escalate all the noise and the nonsense. But here's the other difficulty with all of that. You know, when you're in that anechoic chamber, the one that's like quieter than anything is quiet, some people don't even have to go in there. Some people, if they're in their own house and they're alone, it's too much. Have you ever had the electric cut out and there's no hum even? And for some reason the birds are quiet and you're like, what's going on? What's this? This doesn't feel right. And here's the thing. Many times when it's quiet, and especially too quiet, we get anxious because we're not used to that, because we need noise. But sometimes we need the quiet to hear God. So meditation. We're going to walk through a simple meditation. It won't take long. You can keep your eyes open. Don't fall asleep. I know I haven't been too excited this morning, so some of you are lulled already. Don't go too far down that rabbit hole. We're going to say this phrase. I want you to say it with me. And then we're going to lop off a piece of it. And then we're going to say it again and lop off a piece of it. And say it again until we get down to just one word. Okay? So say it with me. Be still and know that I am God. Remember the sunsets? Think about that sunset. Think about that verse. Think about all the power of God and all the beauty of God. Be still and know that I am God. Say it with me. Be still and know that I am. Think about it. You're on vacation. It's quiet. There's no internet. You're not trying to finish some book. You're just relaxing. And it hits you. God, the great I am. What a wonderful thing. Just at peace. It's a peaceful presence that God has with you. You know there's a lot of issues that could be brought up. You know there's a lot of things that you could talk to God about, but for some reason this time, it's like a vacation. You're not anxious or nervous or bothered. You don't feel guilt or stress or strain. For whatever reason, you finally found peace in the presence of God, and God's presence is real to you. And it feels good because he is the great I am, the creator of all things. And you feel it. Say it with me. Be still and know. Sometimes things are difficult. Birth, for instance. But then that baby takes a moment, rests, is asleep. And you're holding that baby. It might be your own child. It might be your grandchild. It might be somebody else's child. It might be your little brother or sister. And you hold that baby and you think, oh, this is just the best thing ever. Oh, this is just so wonderful. Jim and Lynn recently had that experience as grandparents. Little Benaiah was born a few days ago. For me, it was like reliving my children's births. And I thought, oh, that is a good feeling. That is a wonderful, joyful feeling to hold a newborn baby when it's not screaming. When it's quiet and still. And it just, you feel so much love because there's no negativity coming off of this child. There's nothing it's done good or bad or anything. It's just present. And you're present. and you're protecting it and you're holding it and you're loving that child. Be still. Say it with me. Be still. Sometimes you can't get away from people to find quiet. Sometimes your house has 12, 13 people living in it for some reason. Sometimes the world is a little crazy and you just stop for a coffee, but the coffee shop is a little loud and echoey because they didn't plan for an anoechic sound chamber. They wanted the sounds to reverberate and to feel that busyness, right? Can you find calm there? Can you find peace among people? Can you be still when others are running around, busy, hyper-caffeinated, excited about life? Can you relax? Can you say, God, I know you are here, even now? Say it with me. Be. Just be. Just be. When you share a meal with family, and the family's not had any drama lately, every family has drama, but lately there hasn't been any. Lately, everybody's getting along. Lately, it's a good day. Kind words are spoken. Isn't that nice? And when it's your family, you don't have to worry about the awkwardnesses of the human body and what you might say or do, or noises your body might make, or the awkward things you might say, because it's your family, right? And if they know you and love you and it's a good family, relatively speaking, because they're all a little wacky, you can really just be yourself, right? And if you aren't in that kind of a family, I hope you have some people around you that allow you to just be yourself, because that is so crucial. To not have to put on a performance, to not have to show something to people, but to just be, to just, as it were, let your hair down. I don't have much to let down. It doesn't go anywhere. Can't really change it. But to get to that place where you sit around a table with people and there's nothing to prove. It's just a nice time to be together. And here's the thing. I think about Jesus, and we go back to the Lord's Supper that we talk about. And Jesus sat with the 12 in an upper room, knowing that one would betray him. And yet I am confident that at that table, he loved them all, including that one. Even in the midst of the hardest day of his life, knowing what was to come, I am confident Jesus was present. He wasn't putting on a show. It wasn't a performance. It was Jesus being Jesus as he's always been and always will be. In the moment, loving those who he's with, and hoping for the best. And I think that's a call to us to, no matter the situation we find ourselves in, even if it's with the craziest of families or the craziest of people, that in the midst of that, we can stop performing. That we can stop trying to be somebody. Because we have peace in knowing who God is, and we have peace knowing in who we are. And in that, we can just relax and allow ourselves to be ourselves. because God has the whole world in his hand, right? He's got it all. And whatever will be, will be. So I don't need to fight for everything. Well, meditation's over. Time to apply it. I think there's already been a lot of application, but this is where I remind you, this is my thoughts on these scriptures. They may fit, they may not. You may have felt like I could have gone to sleep and it would have been better. And you could be right for you. I don't know. But I ask you to just hold on to these for a little while, to think about them for a little bit, to think about the ideas I'm presenting, and to see if these might not apply to you and to your family and to your situation and to the people around you. Number one, I really think that the be still and know that I am God, the cease striving, it talks about a Sabbath. It's talking about the idea of actually taking a day and turning it all off. Worshiping God, being with family, not going outside your tent to collect more manna, not worrying about all the things, not fixing food even because you have the food already prepared, but just enjoying God and one another. I think that is where we find our peace. I think that's where we find our wholeness as a being. That we no longer have to fight and strive, because the whole purpose of the Sabbath rest was to say, you don't have to work every single day of the week to keep the world together. Just let it go for one day. One day, quit, and just be. And that is a joy. That is a gift. 2, meditate on God. You might take the verse we just did and how we broke that down, and whenever you're feeling a little bit whatever, you could say, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still. Be. And you might get to a place where you feel a little bit better each time you do that. It will remind you to quit trying to do everything. You're not the world's savior, or your children's, or your parents'. You're just a child of God. And you can love everyone, even if they don't agree with you. You don't have to fix them all. And 3, be changed. And I think we've been talking about that the whole way through. That when you go into these moments of silence and these quiet times and these prayerful, meditative opportunities, you come out of them a different person. And I can say this, having spent, what has it been now? 2, 3 weeks almost? My wife and kids are on the East Coast still. They're over there on that side of the country. My house is very quiet. There's a dog that every now and then makes some noise, but the fish and the lizard, they don't hardly do anything. We had a couple of those power outages. And it got really quiet. And I thought to myself, who am I? Who am I trying to be? What am I trying to do? And in my job here, who am I and what am I trying to do? Am I trying to change you and make you somebody else? No. Am I trying to make you do stuff? No. I've said from the time I got here, and I said it in this sermon, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to do anything I say. And I believe we as a church should decide together how we should live in the future and what we might change and do different. So if you're concerned about any of those kinds of things, just know that I'm not God. Neither are you. I can't command or demand of you. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't do much good because you outnumber me. And I say all this because I have been changed. There was a time when I thought, no, me as the preacher, I'm supposed to fix all of you. And don't worry, I got fixed before I came here about all of that mess. That's why when you heard my first sermon, woe is me a sinner, the one I tried out with, it had a very different tone than any sermon I probably preached before it. I just want you to know that you are loved. God loves you, I love you, and I know most everyone in this room can look around and say, I love you as well. You are loved. You don't need to fight. You don't need to strive. You can just relax. You're among family. Be yourself. Be honest about who you are and where you are and what you need in this world. And let us help one another. Because that's what we're called to do. So let's pray as Jesus has taught us to. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Father, as we continue to pray, we ask that you would help us to be a different people, to be your people in a way, individually and collectively, that we're not worried and anxious and striving and fighting and trying to figure everything out, but in a way that we're present with people, loving them, encouraging them, being with them as you are with us, God. Let us love well. Let us feel love from one another and from you, God. Open our hearts that we might know you, that we might realize the God that you are and that you call us to be. God, thank you. Thank you for a wonderful church family that allows us to do this, that encourages healthy conversations, that can have difficult conversations and yet also is very loving and accepting. Help us to continue to grow in these ways. In Jesus we pray. Amen.